What's a company secret you can share now that you don't work there? Number 1. Health insurance dude. When you file a claim, it is often denied because they're counting on you not escalating it. Once you do, your case goes to a medical management group, which ought to be called the "we don't want to pay" group. Keep escalating and involve your doctor. Fight for the insurance you paid for. Number 2. Mortgage industry here, we're like cops, only answer the question asked. Do not provide additional information to be helpful, it could screw you over. Number 3. I worked at L'Oreal. The cosmetics from L'Oreal and Lancome are practically the same. But Lancome costs like $20 more. Number 4. This isn't a company secret, but I worked part-time at a Domino's franchise in college. The owner was, at first glance, a short-tempered, critical penny pincher who did everything he could to save business money, right down to watching over your shoulder to make sure you didn't put too much cheese on a pizza. Cheese is called white gold in the pizza industry, even back in 2002. But after working for him for a while, you realized why he was so specific about the margins. Twice yearly, he would send out generous bonuses, in the form of money orders made out to his employees from his own personal savings account, to the college students working for him. The checks, money orders contained the memo line, "Keep learning." The amount of the money orders would be directly correlated to the profit margins of the stores he owned. The dude did legit profit sharing. After I graduated, I heard a rumor that he was trying to start up a small education grant trust that would benefit applicants of the Farmer School of Business at Miami University, but I don't think anything ever came of it. This owner also played favorites when hiring. Every single one of his managers was a former employee. 3 of the 4 managers at his stores when I worked there had graduated from my college with business degrees. All 4 of them had a small portion of their education paid for by Marvin Covington. Marvin Covington, Oxford, Ohio Domino's owner from Vevey, Indiana, died in 2017. That dude knew how to do business, and do it right. Number 5. I used to work in college admissions. Rich donors, athletes, and other VIPs have lower admission criteria. They still have minimums, but they're super easy to reach, even for a selective university. In the case of the university I worked for, BYU, children of General Church authorities also got this. Number 6. I worked at a comic book store that offered a service where you paid a small premium to have sent in rare comics to have them graded at CGC. A few months later we had many customers coming in to check the status of their comics. We contacted the owner to see what was going on, and he would always claim that there was some distribution problem. Fast forward a few months, we found out he was taking customers' graded copies and selling them online while trying to return back issue versions of their original comics. Number 7. I worked for a major hotel chain in housekeeping for over 10 years. The number of suicides and people who die naturally in their rooms is a lot higher than you'd think. I worked at a huge convention hotel with over 1,000 rooms and it happened quite often. Unless it was a pretty gnarly mess, it would just get cleaned like normal and the next guest had no idea. Number 8. I worked at Olive Garden in the mid-90s while I was in college. Back then, they had the all-you-can-eat soup, salad and breadsticks lunch special for like $4.25 plus tax. Working lunch shift sucked. You would get probably 2 or 3 tables, and there was a 99% chance that all of your tables were 2 ladies getting this lunch special with water during their lunch break. After about a year, several of our best servers were mysteriously fired. It turns out, they were running a scam where they used the same receipt over and over again when these ladies paid for their meal with cash. Since we could get those 3 items ourselves from the back without ringing them into the system, these servers were just pocketing the cash for the entire meal. So instead of making like $5 to $8 in tips during a lunch shift like the rest of us dumb schmucks, they would make an extra $20 or so by stealing from the company. Number 9. If you were on live chat with customer care, I could see what you were typing before pressing send. I watched people work through grotesque, racist, sexist statements, fraudulent lies and mistruths, meticulous grammar fixes, and their whole range of emotions in real time before deleting and typing, okay. Number 10. The vehicle modification shop at Chillicothe Correctional Institution in Chillicothe, Ohio dumps waste coolant from the machine shop into a storm drain that empties directly into the Scioto River, because the chemical disposal tank is a 55-gallon drum in the paint shop, and that's much too small. They can't throw me into solitary confinement for complaining anymore. Edit. This happens about once a year, when the machine's coolant reservoirs are emptied and the coolant replaced. It's not on a schedule, it's one of those things that you do when work is slow. Each machine holds 15 to 20 gallons, and usually you just add more as it evaporates, but eventually it gets nasty and needs replaced. It's supposed to go in a waste tote to be disposed of safely, which is what every non-government machine shop does. Being able to prove this is being done would require knowing when they're going to do this, and that's a decision that's often made spur of the moment. Hey, work is slow, let's have a clean-up day. There aren't any phones in the machine shop, either. Edit 2. A container to store the waste properly costs $200. Why waste taxpayer money when we can just poison the taxpayers instead? Number 11. If you pick up a wall phone at Home Depot and push 7, it activates the store-wide intercom. This works in every store in my province. A fake. Number 12. I don't think it's a bad secret at all. But back in college, I delivered pizzas for Papa John's. The store manager must have had an undiagnosed case of OCD or germophobia or something. Because every night, he would assign someone to do the cleaning duties, mopping floors, double-checking expiration dates, throwing away expired stuff, etc. And every night, he would absolutely lose his temper and berate whoever was doing the cleaning. They were going too fast, they weren't cleaning everything, whatever. After that, he'd always take over the cleaning himself. He was amazingly picky about the cleanliness and food quality. Expiration date is 3 days from now? F that, I'll order more. Throw that shit away, we're not serving it. He would also go out of pocket to buy special cleaning products, because that worthless bullshit that corporate wants us to use doesn't get the job done. He also went out of pocket to hire some kind of specialist to clean out the fountain drink dispenser, ice machine and all that stuff. The machine needs to always be as close to brand new as possible. One standout moment for me was when he reduced a cashier to tears by hollering, "Would you eat off this floor?" No? Then it's not clean enough. He wasn't telling her to eat off the floor. He was just making a point. After we'd closed the store, he'd kick all of us out, lock up behind us and stay until something like 2 a.m. cleaning the place. You always knew when he closed because you could smell the chemical scent still lingering in the air. The end result of this was the store, the food, the equipment and the facilities were always in squeaky clean condition. Customers, somehow, picked up on what a perfectionist the store manager was and bought from us all the time. Because there's a lot of peace of mind that goes in with knowing your food was cooked by someone willing to throw ingredients away before the expiration date, stay in the store until God knows when cleaning everything, etc. The true irony was how much the boss hated himself because he didn't think he was doing a good enough job to run a clean restaurant with fresh ingredients. It didn't matter how many compliments he got from customers or how many service industry veterans said they'd never worked in a place as obsessive about freshness and cleanliness as his Papa John's store. He was convinced his store was still a filthy barn. Eventually, he got promoted to some kind of higher-level corporate position, district manager. That required him to visit other stores and make sure they were all up to spec. The end result of that was a lot of stores in this area all improved seemingly overnight. Number 13. 1. Ford parts from Mexico are way more reliable than Ford parts from Detroit, or at least they were before 2020. I worked in Detroit and we had some customers who were fussy about us always doing repairs with Michigan parts, but when we had a problem that wouldn't stay fixed we would always secretly switch to the Mexican parts, which did solve things. 2. I was a prison guard a decade ago and we installed some facial tracking software in the surveillance cameras. One of the inmates panicked while cleaning the unused solitary confinement cells, which is usually a desirable job. It's easy as fudge and nobody pays attention to you. And he insisted that he be moved out of that job because there was a ghost. The ranking officers decided to check the new cameras, and the security software claimed it saw a face behind the inmate at the same time as he was visibly startled in the camera footage. We're all aware there are mundane reasons why a new facial recognition system would think it saw a ghost, but since the inmate and the security software both thought there was a ghost, it was decided that the inmate should be immediately transferred at no penalty. Number 14 worked at an American Toyota dealership in the body shop for 12 years. We would throw away literally everything regardless of the environmental impact. Car paint, which is nasty shit BTW, went straight to the dumpster. Radiator fluid? Down the drain. I even saw someone put oil down the drain a couple times even though we had barrels for it up in the service department. The only thing we saved was old car parts which the boss then sold to scrapyards and pocketed the money. The painter didn't ever wear a mask either. He is around 60 and still kicking despite 30 years of painting without a mask somehow. Number 15, I'll say it. A place similar in name to past Face Urgent Care, at least in the region one worked at, banned their front desk from informing customers that they have a credit balance to use toward their services and still required us to charge customers the full price on top of what we already owed them. Some accounts had like $500 of copay that should have been refunded but weren't. I was actually reprimanded for applying the credit balance, because despite finance agreeing my method was correct, the regional manager said it was not a good look for the company and hindered her profits. Number 16. I worked at a Petco in Alaska. Apparently black mice are not allowed up here. Only white mice. We got a shipment in of a bunch of brown mice and had to take them to the vet to be killed. Also, the animals are literally shipped in on a UPS truck and delivered in packages. I would open a package and it would be full of fish or mice or snakes. Y'all never knew what was coming, it was wild. Luckily my shift manager was a really good person. She tried her best to help any sick animal and was super diligent about keeping the cages really clean. She would stay after hours to care for the sick animal in the back and double down on cleaning. When upper management came, they didn't give a shit how clean anything was. They would yell at us to get more customers to sign up for pet rewards. If I didn't pester every single person checking out, they would get angry and give me point deductions. I have no idea what the deductions even did. One of the upper managers watched me for like 3 hours when I was at the register. He said I wasn't pushy enough on getting people to donate, sign up for shit. Bitch. I will ask once and if they say no I am not asking again. That shit is annoying AF. He also got mad at me when I didn't clean the birdcage fast enough. It took time away from the register. I'm sorry, I don't want our birds to stand in their own shit for hours, so yeah I'ma take my time to scrub that shit clean. Also, don't buy fish from Petco. Pretty much every shipment that came in they were all infected with ick. Basically half our tanks were in quarantine. We had several customers come back saying we killed their entire fish tank because of fish we sold them. F Petco. Number 17. Olive Garden breadsticks or just Franz brand breadsticks, garlic salt, and butter. ETA. It's margarine, not butter. I forgot there is a difference. Number 18. I was the one who did an undercover news stories about scamps pet stores and their affiliation with puppy mills. Please don't buy from pet stores folks. Number 19. I used to work as a receptionist at an upscale salon. While I was there, the salon introduced a new line of products marketed towards men. Up until that point most of our products were marketed towards women, but the execs saw that we were getting more male customers. Every item in the men's product line was about half the cost of our other products. The men's shampoo was the exact same shampoo the salon had been selling for years, but because they put it in black packaging with the word man on it, it was half the price. The owner's explanation was, well, men don't want to pay that much for hair products. For the rest of the time I worked there, every time a woman came up to buy that shampoo I'd tell her that the men's shampoo was the exact same product for half the price. Number 20. I used to work surveillance at a casino. From something like 3 stories high ceiling, we could zoom in on money on the table games and read the serial numbers of the bills. We could see the pips on the dice. Policy was to not look down blouses. Number 21. All new clothing and everything you try on is dirty. I've worked in retail for years and it still shocks people, but there's no washing machine or disinfectant spray or wipes. Nothing. I've opened boxes of new clothes that had white bugs coming out of it. Seen woman after a workout class come and try clothes on then just leave still sweaty from the class. One older lady left dime-sized skin flakes in the clothes she tried on. Not to mention whatever happens when they return the item or what happened in the factory. People are gross, nothing is clean. Always wash your clothes when you get them home. Number 22. In the United States, one company's bread and butter was simply reboxing and relabeling computer monitors from China to make it seem like they were from the company and assembled in some way by them. Number 23. Your warranty service part that took 8 months actually arrived 3 weeks after they paid the invoice. They didn't even order it for 7 months. They told you it was manufacturing delays and supply chain issues, but in reality they couldn't afford to pay their bills and had to pick and choose which orders to place. You weren't a priority. They were just really bad at budgeting and damage control. Number 24. Hotels do not typically have security, maintenance or housekeeping on staff 24/7. Once housekeeping finishes cleaning all the rooms, the entire staff leaves except for one front desk employee. Number 25. If you wear single vision glasses, you likely paid hundreds for your glasses. The lenses cost literally pennies. Where I used to work, a single lens with a scratch-resistant coating cost something like 25p. The high costs are the edgers and blockers, which trace the frame and help position the lens correctly, that cut the lenses. An edger and blocker can cost more than £30,000 for a barely mid-range one. Also, a lot of optical labs dump the waste down the drain. An immense number of liters of microplastic contaminated water going down the drain. Number 26. The stain protector is only useful if you actually file a claim. It isn't a magic effing potion. Most furniture companies sell some sort of stain protector as an add-on. People buy it, thinking it has some magic ability to prevent stains over the life of a piece of upholstery. Then, 5 years later, spill some Kool-Aid on that shit, and the stain doesn't come out. With most of these protectors, there's a warranty claim process that will get you a new sofa, or a new set, if your sofa pattern isn't made anymore. But nobody ever files a claim. That's the gimmick. The company is counting on you not actually holding them to the deal that they made you, and virtually nobody does. Number 27. Worked at a major cable ISP in their 4 billing cycles. They upgraded the billing system, but did something wrong, and all but the current cycle got a late charge. But instead of fixing it immediately, we were told to credit their account if the customer called in. I did the math, and for the size of our city, and the 3/4 of people wrongly charged, it was over $1 million USD. Most people just pay their bill and don't look to close. Edit. It was Time Warner, which was bought out a couple times in my area. Number 28. I worked at a candy bagging warehouse like the crappy .99 gas station candy where we would even make trail mix by hand. Tons of sweat would drip into the mix because we would be in a 100F+ room with little ventilation. Also, my boss was a hunter, so a quarter of the warehouse was dedicated to his taxidermy treasure room. Effing smelt like shit in the summer, but he was so proud of himself. Edit. Also should add that if the expiration dates were bad, we would use nail polish remover to take the date off. Number 29. I worked baggage at an airport. Nothing is handled with care. If it's marked fragile, your only hope is nice baggage handlers. You should avoid packing breakable things at all costs. Edit. Not totally true. I never had one, but we were trained on how to properly handle a casket. The training was, be very careful, don't drop it, and for the love of God, don't sit on it like it's a horse. True story. That's what our boss said. Number 30. I worked in insurance billing at night as a side job while still going to school as a physician. I had the hard job of fighting insurance for things like a 4 ounces bottle of betadine 5% for $300 that your insurance doesn't want to pay for, or life-saving services that keep people alive like transplants, cardiac surgeries, etc. Sometimes, I would be fighting for months on these things and they would exhaust me and it would get so personal. I looked at their chart, their story, their history and visits, and over the years, I have written off or just erased several millions of dollars in medical bills just because I didn't have the heart to let it fall back on people. Tiny 3-day-old babies who needed new hearts, grandma who was only 50 who needed a new kidney, papa who needed a new liver, and new medical treatment for his condition, twin baby girls who needed surgery while mom was pregnant to save them both. A husband who needed brain surgery, his wife was pregnant. A firefighter needing cancer treatment. I just paid it all. Silently at night. All they received was a statement in the mail that things have been covered and medication, services are taken care of, like no balance was owed to the hospital, etc. But it was me. I just wrote it off. We used donations, funding, certain surgeries had special services to could connect into. Everything got paid, it just never fell back on the patient. I never met a single one of them. I just hope it helped. Number 31. Dating websites don't want you to find love. They're designed to squeeze as much money out of you as possible before you cancel, and partly rely on people forgetting to cancel a subscription and put deliberate barriers in the cancellation process. Number 32. I used to work for a rural ISP. We had one access point with 13 customers, but only 12 IP addresses provisioned. This means only 12 out of 13 people could be online at any one time. Anytime a customer called from that service area, we'd log in and reboot the tower's radios, kicking everyone offline to force DHCP renewals. It always meant whomever was calling in was able to get an IP and get online, but we knew that if all 13 customers wanted to be online at once, we wouldn't be able to service them. I brought it up with management, but they deemed it too expensive to address. I explained that it made us look like a fly-by-night shady as hell outfit. Since it was a rural ISP, I knew I'm not just talking to one person either. I'm talking to him, his wife, dog, kids, priest and 5 buddies from the coffee shop. Make a bad impression on one person and you might as well take out an ad in their local paper calling the whole town assholes. I handed out a lot of free months of service working there and would often make the point credits aren't revenue for justifiability angry customers. Number 33. Government-funded refugee advocacy agencies at a time were approving a disproportionate amount of young women, 18 to 25, from Syria and Iraq with sexual assault history for their services. Upon further investigation, I and my team discovered consultants from said agency were engaging in sexual relationships with these girls. They were denying them opportunities of employment to keep them in financial destitution purposely. When the girls became desperate, the offer of private prostitution was made by the consultants. I whistle blew to the organization heads. They thanked me and the consultants were gone the next day. Huge meeting with senior board. Apologies. This isn't the way we do things. Speeches blah blah blah. And within 3 months me and the other 6 other complainants and investigators had all resigned from the company for different reasons. On paper it looks coincidental, in reality we were all individually pushed out. 2 of the consultants that we uncovered were doing the worst were not fired. They were given the option to resign and are currently working at other agencies with vulnerable young women.
What was your favorite story? Let us know in the comments or share your own. Like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.